Welcome everyone to the trip of a lifetime, the tour of Israel and Jordan from the view of Thomas of Arabia. This is Friday, November 11th. I just landed in Tel Aviv, and Mohammed, my cab driver, is driving me to Jerusalem. This is the scenery out the window. I'm surprised that it's more green than I thought. I was expecting more of a desert. This is a shot out my window of my Hotel Prima Kings, overlooking the city of Jerusalem. Here we are at the Mount of Olives. You can see the dome of the mosque. See, I'm an actor.
Is Thomas enjoying Jerusalem?
I love it.
And it love you too. We love you, Thomas.
Very good, very good. Okay. Dobrze.
Dobrze.
Dobrze. This is an evangelical group who is visiting Mount Olives, all dressed in different religious outfits. Saturday, November 11th, I take a walking tour of the Old City, and I've decided to take the tour along the Old City walls. Shot of the Old City walls, built in 1500 or so. Amazingly, even in the Old City, they have a soccer field. Shot of the Prima Kings Hotel. Again, the Mount of Olives, the Dome of the Rock, on Saturday. It's pretty obvious, just a close-up. This is a graveyard where people want to be buried, so when the rapture and the end of times comes, they will be the ones that are resurrected and gone to heaven. $250,000 if you want to be buried here. My first view of a local donkey rider offer. Selfie. And if you want, you could take a camel ride. This is the outside of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It is claimed that Jesus' tomb is still in existence. It's the inside of the Holy Sepulchre. This entire structure surrounding it has been rebuilt in the last 2 years. Same shot. A nun and priest performing a mass at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is a structure called the Edicule, which surrounds the tomb of Jesus. This is the dome that covers that structure. Tourists mingling around the Edicule and queuing up in line to go inside and actually touch the tomb. Tourists, again, lined up to go inside and touch the tomb. It was very crowded that day. Side shot of the Edicule. This is the Via Dolorosa in the Old City of Jerusalem, supposedly the path that Jesus took on his way to crucifixion. This is outside Old City walls, Jaffa Gate. Shot out of the bus. This is the wall that was built by Israel, dividing the Palestinian side of Jerusalem to the Israeli side. Another shot of the wall. Here we are approaching the western wall, referred to as the Wailing Wall. video showing the courtyard of the area, panning to the western wall, Wailing Wall. Right in front is our tour group. There's Jonathan, our tour guide, approaching the entrance to the Wailing Wall. Some of the clerics praying in front of the Wailing Wall. This wall is from the destruction of the Second Temple back in 60 AD. I wrote down a prayer for each of you and placed it in the Wailing Wall. All my best for health and happiness. View from the courtyard of the Wailing Wall to the eastern side of Jerusalem. Panorama of that same view. As you can tell, it is on the hill. The old city is on a hill. I believe this is St. Jerome. What he represents, I'm not sure. That is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. A graphic of Jerusalem in the First Temple period. A representation or an actual part of the first wall, or one of the older walls in around the 1st century. This is a colonnade or shopping area from 100 BC. This is what it actually, they think it represented. A mosaic of the colonnade, and that's Jonathan, our tour guide. Panorama from outside of the Zion Gate. Now we're visiting the Holocaust Memorial. This is the Garden of the Righteous, where those people who saved some of the Jews in World War II were honored. This is the view from the inside courtyard of the Holocaust Memorial. This is the eternal flame in the entrance to the memorial, honoring all those 6 million Jews killed at the different concentration murder camps in Germany and Poland. Memorial wall. 13 pillars representing the tribes of Israel, honoring the over 1 million children killed in the Holocaust. One of the righteous, Oskar and Emil Schindler, from those who saved many Jews in Poland or Germany, and a movie that was made by Steven Spielberg, Schindler's List. View from the bus on our way to Masada, the fortress where the Romans attacked the Jews who had retreated to Masada. Here we are arriving to the Masada National Park, going to the entrance. This is a model of what it was like back in, I think this was about 60 AD. It's the top of a bluff in the middle of the desert, west of Jerusalem. This is the top of Masada, showing some of the ruins. This describes the fact that the 2,000 Jews that were trapped on the top of this bluff had plenty of food and water. And the Romans, when they started the siege, which took many months, they discovered all of the Jews had committed suicide. And it wasn't because they lacked for sustenance or water. They refused to be captured by the Romans. Panoramic view from the top of the bluff. More of the ruins. Shot down of the trail where you can walk up the Snake Trail to the top of the bluff. Takes about 45 minutes, but we took a cable car. More of the ruins and the living quarters when they were trapped. This was a view down to one of the Roman encampments that was set up before the siege. Some of the archaeological ruins on the top. It's a great model of the original buildings that were built by, I believe, the Romans before the Jews went to the top of that bluff. This was a retreat for one of the magistrates or high-level people of the Romans back BC times, before Christ. It's the cable car system that takes you up if you do not want to walk up the Snake Trail. The shot of the Sea of Galilee. These are some of the containers that held the Dead Sea Scrolls. One of the caves where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. Our holiday resort on the Dead Sea, Ein Gev on the Dead Sea. This is the city of Nazareth. One of the coffee vendors in the street. This is the Church of the Annunciation, where it was claimed where the angel Gabriel appeared to the Virgin Mary inside of the Church of the Annunciation. All kinds of historical ruins from about 30 BC. Very interesting architecture. Phenomenal dome. Outside in the courtyard, panorama in Nazareth. So Nazareth is a very small village, hustle bustle. They have a lot of activity going on, narrow streets, just a very vibrant community, just like all the cities or all the small villages around Israel. This is the Mount of Beatitudes where Jesus supposedly gave the Sermon of the Mount. The synagogue. Hans and Martha. Hans has dressed himself in the local attire. Looking very good, Hans. View across from the Sea of Galilee to, I believe, the town of Tiberias. This is the Kibbutz Degania, which was one of the first kibbutzes formed after Israel was established as a nation in 1948. Some very prominent Jewish leaders were part of this kibbutz, which is really a socialistic community that supports itself. One of the very humble dwellings. View the Sea of Galilee. Bet Shean National Park, one of the best preserved Roman ruins from 100 BC, is a great model of what the city was like at approximately 100 BC. You can see it had an amphitheater, it had a coliseum, very well organized and completely surrounded with a defensive wall. These are the actual ruins, and it was devastated by an earthquake about 8th century after Christ. So most of those pillars had been knocked down and restored. Some of the original tile work that covered all of the roadways and structures at this incredible sight. This is the amphitheater where plays were put on. This was not any gladiatorial events. It was strictly for entertainment. The seating capacity was about 3,000 people, which they estimated the town to be probably around 9,000 or 10,000 total population at its height. We're crossing over into Jordan, and this is the first view, guys, you recall, of the Jordan River, a little bit smaller than what originally was envisioned, the Jordan Valley crossing, going from Israel to Jordan, passing a mosque. It's Friday afternoon with people praying outside a mosque. Having lunch at a beautiful restaurant. This is our motley crew. You remember all of us there? There's Jordan. And the rest of us. It was a terrific lunch. Now we are at Jerash. Jerash is another great historical ruin site. You remember how beautiful these structures were. This is the open colonnade area. There's Suhar, our guide, Virginia, going all the way across. The locals playing bagpipes. And here I am joining in the dancing. Very well preserved ruins of the city. Arriving in Amman at the Kempinski Hotel, beautiful 5-star hotel. Now we go to the Amman Citadel, which is the top of the hill in the city itself. Terrific, well-preserved ruins. Overlooking the city, you'll recall that the city was built on top of old ruins so that you'd have to excavate the current city in order to get the entire ruins, but this is on the top bluff, so there's quite a bit. Just the sweeping coverage of the entire Amman Plateau. This is the St. George's Church in Amman. This is actually a hand piece from a 150-foot statue of Hercules, I believe, and this is the only thing that's left after the earthquake of 700. Okay, this time I'm talking to let you know that this is a view of the city of Amman. And this is the citadel, the ruins of the city of Amman. Amman. On this Miriam, we're going to go into the mosque at Mataba. Beautiful mosque. This is the mosque in Amman. Unbelievable. Fabulous. This is incredible architecture. More shots of the inside of the mosque. The carpeting, which is really an interesting design. Oh. stand where the imams would preach to the people in the mosque. Going across one of the modern bridges in this ancient city of Iman. We're now on our way to Mount Nebo, where Moses looked to the promised land. This is the site where Moses viewed the promised land, and before they went to Israel. And this is where Moses looked to the promised land to go to Israel. And it's mighty dry out there, guys, although you can see the Red Dead Sea to the left. The distances from here to Bethlehem, to Jerusalem, Jericho, etc. Monuments, something to do with Moses. Hope you guys remember this. Inside the museum at Nebo, showing all of the beautiful mosaics from pre-history. Wonderful preservation. Intricate mosaics. And then they have a workshop that is set up by the Jordanian government to help handicapped Jordanians repeat the skill sets that were used to make mosaics back in ancient times. This is the city of Mataba, Movenpick Hotel on the Dead Sea. Beautiful lobby, absolutely gorgeous. Ceiling shot. A shot outside of my window toward the entrance of Petra. Taking that road to the entrance. Very comfortable little girl with her father on a tourist trip. As we enter Petra, a lot of choices of transportation. Horses, carriages, going down a 2.5 mile walk into Petra. Monuments are stunning, all carved out of hand, out of the sandstone. Beautiful ruins. This is starting to get really interesting, going down these steep canyons that will be guarded by these horrific guards. And one tree of life as we follow the trail going to the opening. Steepness of the canyon walls. This is the actual plumbing works or the aqueducts that were utilized by the Nabateans to get water into Petra. This is Petra, one of the canyons leading to the treasury or monastery. Unbelievable. Here we go. Absolutely incredible. This is amazing what we're experiencing. We're moving down the canyon. Here we go to the, and then you can see the treasury over there. Unbelievable. The treasury, carved out of sandstone, all hand done. You'll notice on the sides, you see those notches on both sides. That is actually the climbing steps for the carvers to go up. They started from the top and worked down. This is about 400 BC. Beautiful treasury. Your choice if you'd like to ride a camel. Now this is the treasury. Unbelievable. Here we go. All from 400 BC as the start. Beautiful. Now you can see all the tourists. Okay, here we go. This is the entrance to the treasury area. Rocks go way up, and here it is, one of the most beautiful architectures in the history of mankind. We go there, and then it goes all the way down to the other canyon, around, and I got arrested. You knew how incorrigible I was. But they let me go with a little bribe. Here goes the camel from Saudi Arabia. Where is Lawrence of Arabia? Where are we going? We're going this way. Another canyon. You have a choice to take the donkeys up the trail. I passed on that one. Surprised how many caves and tombs there were. So the population was pretty significant over hundreds of years. So the only freestanding building, all of them were carved out of the face of the rock, sandstone. This is the only freestanding building. Some of the tombs. This is amazing, these steps. How treacherous this was, or precarious. I was surprised how difficult it was coming up and going down. Looking back after about a 2-mile hike to the canyons that we came from, again, the treacherous and dangerous steps going up. I'm on my way to the monastery. For those who chose the donkeys, and the ladies having their little shops selling different kinds of souvenirs and trinkets. Fascinating formations, absolutely fascinating. And now we made it to the top, or almost to the top. This is the monastery. This, I guess, was a burial location for some of the high-ranking rulers. Okay, I made it 952 treacherous steps to get to this historical monastery temple up on this incredible bluff. This is all hand carved out of rock from the top down, arcing to the right to this incredible valley that I just came up. I can't believe it. Wow. On the way up to the next viewpoint. That's where I'm headed, up another, I don't know, 300 steps. That's going to take me to about 1,300 steps. I hope the view is worth it. Okay guys, this is the big one. I am at the top. I finally made it. I'm looking out to the north, I believe. All these mountains. There is Mahab over here, and I'm going here, and there's a little way station, and we do it and back and forward, and here it is, and amazing. Here I am at the base of the monastery. The sun is setting, so it's glowing on this unbelievable structure carved out of the sandstone in, I think, like 100 BC. Phenomenal, to say the least. Self-explanatory. Sacrifice View, Rift Valley. The last 300 steps. This is where the actual sacrifices took place. You can see the squares there. It's where they brought the animals, and not sure about humans, but the Nabateans to their gods made sacrifices to maintain this beautiful environment. Looking back down to the monastery, the weather and the blue sky was just tremendous. Inside the monastery, you can see there's a carving where they probably had some kind of ritualistic altars or something, but it's protected. and looking back down through the narrow canyons and those steps as you're coming back down. Taking a rest. Looks like we have Lawrence of Arabia with his convoy of camels. A formation that looks like the Sphinx. Very interesting. More caves. I believe these were actual living quarters. Okay, here I am in the amphitheater, the perfect place that I could have been an actor in the olden times. Unbelievable. An actor in the Colosseum. Back down to the treasury. This was a Jordanian army officer or sergeant who's with a group. Natural formation that looks like an elephant. This was one of our speakers who talked to us and gave us history of the Bedouin culture. This is the Movenpick Hotel. This is overlooking the Rift Valley. Now we come to Wadi Rum, which is the Natural Preserve National Park that is a valley in the desert. Fortunate enough to get on 4x4 Jeeps, Martha and Hans, and I believe Virginia, and off we go into the desert. The 7 Pillars of Wisdom. This is the natural formation that T.E. Lawrence of Arabia, named his book, The 7 Pillars of Wisdom. That is the rock formation that's named that. Off we go on our 4x4s. And this is the 7 Pillars of Wisdom from the area of Saudi Arabia, although we're in Jordan, with Lawrence of Arabia. Okay, here I am following the trail of Lawrence of Arabia in Wadi al-Rum. We're going across the desert. A very interesting experience. Updates coming. Well, here I am on top of the sand dune at Wadi Rum. Unbelievable. Using that word too much. People coming up, trying to make it over, looking through the Rift Valley, I think, and up to the top of those rocks. Incredible. The sand was so fine, we went barefoot, climbed it to the top of this bluff. And we are at the top. Martha taking a shot. Looking down at our caravan of 4x4s. Hieroglyphics from, who knows, 3000 BC showing camels carved by ancient folks. Here we are at the camel station and off for a half-hour trip to a Bedouin camp. Here I am, being Lawrence of Arabia in the middle of the desert. I'm with my 2 friends. We are going here and we're going through this valley. So this was how Lawrence did it. Had to be pretty difficult. There's my friend the camel. I don't know if his name is Lightning or not. And here's the pack ahead of us, and we're going through this unbelievable valley, going here with these rock formations. Incredible. Here we are at the Bedouin camp. Bill and Deb preparing lunch. The complex itself. Tents are made out of goat hair. They let ventilation in the heat, and when it rains, it expands and keeps the water out. Arriving at the Movenpick by the Dead Sea, getting some beautiful pineapple juice or some kind of juice after a long bus ride.
Yes, indeed. I'm not so sure this is healthy for me.
واحنا روح قلبي ما صدقنا من خوفي لبكره يفرقنا واحنا روح قلبي.
We're now going to Bethany, which is the place where Jesus was baptized. There's the Jordan River, not quite what you envision. Some mosaics showing the Jordan River that was much wider back in 2,000 years ago, where the actual baptism. This is the actual spot where Jesus was baptized. This is the Jordan River, and all the people are getting baptized. A lot of different international people, different nationalities. The Jordan River running north and south. This again is the Jordan River, and all the people are getting baptized. I just put my hand into the Jordan River. I am not noticing any difference in my spiritual condition. Wait a minute, what's happening? I don't know. I'm having an experience. These are great buses. They had Wi-Fi and phone chargers, beautiful, comfortable seats. We only had 17 in our group, so you could listen to Sirius XM going across the desert, text, send phone, send pictures, talk on a telephone. It's fantastic technology. The Dead Sea. Again, the lobby of the Movenpick. Coming from my room at the Movenpick by the Dead Sea, you can see the Dead Sea in the foreground. It's an unbelievable, there that word again, complex that goes all the way down with restaurants and entertainment center. It's a beautiful 5-star hotel. So fortunate. Okay, friends and neighbors, you are now experiencing the lowest point on Earth as we panorama out to the Dead Sea, looking on the other side to Israel, panning up. Beautiful facility. Absolutely phenomenal experience. Oh, this is the port of Jaffa. This is just north of Tel Aviv, looking out into the Mediterranean and seeing all the houses along the way. Very interesting. Some workers straightening out the rocks before the tourists come down. Now you have the option of putting the Dead Sea mud on your body for health purposes. Allison testing it out, putting it on her hands and showing some of the rocks or the mineral salts that come out of the Dead Sea. Hans and Martha lowest point on Earth. Looking down to the beach. Well, not really a beach. And here I am, floating like a cork in the Dead Sea. Some of the Japanese tourists who really got into it, putting on the whole mud cake before diving into the Dead Sea. Terrific sunset. The night view looking across the Dead Sea, I think I'm not sure if that's Tiberias or that's overlooking toward Israel. The crescent moon over Jordan. Keep going. Linda and I going through the rubble after spraying it with hot water looking for artifacts and remnants from 2,000 years ago. A display of some of the artifacts they found in the dig over the last couple of years. These are the actual artifacts and remnants that we found as a group. All of us, our 17 of our folks put together. You'll notice on the right-hand side, there's actually a couple of teeth. Not sure if it's human. And there's pottery pieces, bones. We found that right on the spot from over 2,000 years ago. One of the most interesting experiences in the entire trip. Here we are all working, trying to find our particular treasures. We went to the Israel Museum. No pictures allowed, but a phenomenal museum. This is a model of Jerusalem back 80 BC, before the destruction of the Second Temple. You're looking at the temple as it existed right now, the Dome of the Rock, the Muslim mosque is on it. And this was back around 60 BC, I believe. It's a evolving model, so as they do more archaeology, they start changing this to represent what Jerusalem was 2,000 years ago. This is the top of the structure that houses the actual Dead Sea Scrolls. It represents the lid that would be the container where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. One of the interesting displays. Tel Aviv at night, and we arrived from Jerusalem, drove to Tel Aviv. This is a shot from my hotel room in Tel Aviv in the morning. Took a tour of Tel Aviv. This is a very popular vacation spot during the summer. We're looking at the Mediterranean. This is Tel Aviv as it was in 1962. If you go back one more, you can see it modern day, 1962. What a tremendous difference. Taking a tour of Jaffa here on our buses. St. Peter's Church. And this interesting orange tree that's supported by cables and in a steel container with the soil and actually growing in the courtyard. Interesting. It's the modern architecture of Tel Aviv. Very interesting. Local cuisine in Hebrew.
Well, this is it, boys and girls. My last afternoon in Tel Aviv, Israel. Looking at the Mediterranean, panning over to the beach. Looking at part of the downtown city. Very modern, very clean, beautiful city. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon. And here we are out to the Mediterranean. The end of a great vacation.
All right, fellow travelers, you knew what this experience was. It was truly beyond expectations, a trip of a lifetime, and looking at it through the eyes of Thomas of Arabia.